You rise in the night for the third time, making your way to the bathroom before your eyes have fully adjusted to the dark. You stand there with one hand flat against the cool tile, waiting. The stream comes slowly, thin, and when you finally shuffle back to bed, the sleep you needed is already gone. You have been doing this for months, maybe longer. Some nights are worse than others, but none of them easy. If you want to understand why the prostate swells and causes this kind of trouble after 60, do not look toward gut bacteria as the place to start, and do not accept the explanation that this is simply what age does to every man's body. The answer lives in a mineral your body has been quietly losing since your 40s, and in one food from the mountains of my homeland that has been restoring it for generations without a single pharmaceutical involved. I am Jian Chen. Welcome, my friend. What I am about to share holds the potential to change the quality of the years ahead of you in a very specific way. Picture something concrete for a moment. Picture the trip you have been wanting to take with your grandchildren, the long drive, the day spent moving freely through the world without mapping every rest stop before you leave the house, without half your attention on the next hour, rather than the moment right in front of you. That freedom of movement is exactly what is quietly at stake in this conversation. Most physicians do not raise this topic during a regular appointment, and I do not say that to fault anyone. The information simply does not arrive in a prescription form. A 10-minute visit leaves no room for what the old mountain healers spent lifetimes learning. What I am going to share with you comes from a tradition that does not wait for the medical guidelines to catch up before it begins doing its work. My name is Jian Chen. For over 50 years, I have practiced the healing arts of traditional Chinese medicine, beginning at the age of 14, under my grandfather's guidance in the Sichuan mountains, where I was born and where I still work today. Patients travel from many countries to sit with me in our small village, and I have walked alongside thousands of men through exactly what you are facing now. My grandfather used to say that all chronic suffering in the body begins when the middle fails to nourish what is below it. He meant the belly. He meant the gut terrain that distributes warmth, moisture, and mineral richness to every organ that depends on it, the kidney, the lower jaw, and the prostate among them. When that path is depleted, every organ downstream begins to suffer. The prostate, cut off from the mineral support it requires, loses its ability to govern itself. In the mountain village where my family has practiced healing across 6 generations, the men grew old without the prostate troubles that are so common today. My grandfather watched this across his entire practice. His teacher had watched it long before that. Men who ate from their own gardens, who prepared seeds and grains in the traditional ways, rarely developed the swelling and obstruction I now see arriving in men as young as 60. When researchers from outside came to document what they found in communities like ours, they confirmed what the old texts had recorded centuries before. The laboratories came to the mountain late. The mountain had known this for a long time. What I am going to share today will challenge the direction in which most men in your situation have been pointed. 9 out of 10 men dealing with prostate enlargement are working on the wrong layer of the problem. They are managing symptoms while the root condition continues to deepen. The order of everything I share today matters. Each piece prepares the ground for the next, and the teaching I arrive at near the end is the one that draws everything together. Stay through to the end. That is where the real restoration begins. Before we continue, I want to ask something of you. Leave a comment below right now and tell me your age. And while you are there, tell me this as well. How long have you been living with these nighttime and daytime symptoms? And has anything you have tried brought you real and lasting relief? I read every single comment on this channel, and I say this with full sincerity. Your experience shapes the teaching I bring next. In this video, I am going to show you the specific reason why mineral depletion, and not bacteria, and not general hormonal aging, creates the internal conditions that drive prostate enlargement after 60. I am going to show you the 3 conditions that accelerate this depletion in older men, conditions that are quiet and rarely named in a standard visit. I am going to show you how my tradition understood what Western researchers are only now mapping clearly. I am going to show you the preparation method that determines how much nourishment actually reaches the prostate tissue. I am going to show you the pairing that multiplies the benefit, and I am going to share the single most important practice I know from 50 years of watching men restore this part of their health, the one that brings all the other pieces together. One small favor before we go further. If you are not already subscribed to this channel, press that button now. It costs nothing, takes 2 seconds, and allows everything shared here to reach more older men and women who are looking for this kind of teaching. I am grateful to every one of you who has joined this community. Let me begin with what is actually happening inside the gland. The prostate sits just below the bladder, wrapped around the upper portion of the urethra. In a young man, it holds roughly the volume of a walnut and causes no disruption. After 60, the cells of the gland begin to multiply beyond their natural boundary. The gland grows, the urethra narrows inside it. The stream weakens, the bladder does not fully empty. You already know what this feels like from the inside. In traditional Chinese medicine, this process reflects a failure of kidney yang, the warming and organizing energy that governs the lower body. When kidney yang weakens with age, the lower jiao, the pelvic basin, fills with what we call dampness and accumulating heat. The tissue loses its organizing principle. Things proliferate where they should not. In the language Western researchers eventually arrived at, what is failing is the prostate's zinc-dependent regulatory system. The prostate holds more zinc than almost any other tissue in the healthy body. That zinc functions as the mineral signal that tells the gland cells when to stop dividing. When zinc falls below a functional threshold, that signal goes quiet. The cells continue, the gland grows. Common approaches manage what happens after that failure. They ease the stream and reduce urgency, and I do not dismiss them entirely, but they do not address the mineral terrain that allowed the failure to begin. The patients who made the most lasting progress, my friend, were the ones who addressed the root alongside the result. Now, the food. In Chinese we call it nang gua zi, in your language, pumpkin seeds. The variety the old mountain healers of Sichuan have used since before any of us can trace is raw and hull removed. The small dark green seeds, also called pepitas. The heavily salted and roasted packages, sold everywhere in convenient bags, are a different thing entirely, and the reason why matters enormously. Pumpkin seeds carry one of the highest concentrations of absorbable zinc of any plant food on earth. They also contain phytosterols, particularly beta-sitosterol, which work within the body's hormonal signaling pathway to reduce the activity of the enzyme that converts testosterone into the form that drives prostate cell overgrowth. Here is the full mechanism in 4 parts, my friend. The scientific name for the core process is zinc-dependent regulation of 5-alpha reductase activity. The biochemistry is this. Prostate cells depend on zinc to produce the enzymes that suppress uncontrolled cell cycling. When tissue zinc falls below a functional level, that suppression fails. The everyday analogy is a thermostat. Zinc is the signal telling the prostate's growth thermostat the room is warm enough. Without it, the heat keeps building regardless of how much heat is already present. And why this matters specifically to you is that after 60, the aging gut absorbs zinc from food at only a fraction of its former efficiency. A man can eat a reasonable diet and remain functionally depleted because the system receiving the mineral has worn thin with age. After 60, zinc absorption through the gut wall falls by roughly 30 to 40% compared to what a man's gut extracted from the same foods at 35. This gap is significant. A man can eat a reasonable diet and remain functionally depleted because the system receiving the mineral has worn thin with age. Now let me give you the protocol. First, the selection. Look for raw hulled pumpkin seeds, sold as pepitas, the small green ones, raw only. High heat commercial roasting compromises the zinc enzyme complexes in the seed before it ever reaches your table. When you hold a handful of properly purchased pepitas in your palm, they carry almost no smell. That is what you want. Second, the preparation. The old method is soaking. Place 2 tablespoons of seeds in a small bowl of cool, lightly salted water, enough to cover them by 2 fingers, and leave them through the night. In the morning, drain them and either eat them as they are, or warm them in a dry pan over the lowest heat for 3 minutes, stirring steadily until they are just barely fragrant. No oil, no high heat. The overnight soak breaks down phytic acid, the compound in the seed's outer layer that binds to zinc and carries it through the gut wall without allowing absorption. The old women of my village called this waking the seed. They said a woken seed is generous and a sleeping seed is not. The researchers who studied it later called it reducing anti-nutritional factors. The meaning is the same. Third, the amount and timing. 2 tablespoons each morning with breakfast. Consistency matters far more than quantity here. 2 tablespoons every morning for 12 weeks will restore more than any large and irregular handful. The body responds to steady supply. Fourth, the pairing. Eat the seeds alongside something that carries vitamin C. Warm lemon water works beautifully. A few slices of orange alongside the seeds at breakfast. The combination of zinc and vitamin C in the same meal increases the mineral's passage through the gut wall in a way that either alone does not achieve. The old village mothers always arranged seeds with morning fruit. I have understood for many years exactly why they did so. Before I share what to expect over time, I need to say something about the foundation beneath all of this. After 60, the gut loses a significant portion of the bacterial variety it once held. Research teams working in Germany and Japan confirmed what the old mountain healers observed across lifetimes of watching patients absorb less from the same foods as the years passed. The researchers measured this with instruments. The old ones watched it in their patients over decades. Both traditions arrived at the same truth by different roads. But here is what most people following the usual supplement advice miss entirely. Restoring probiotics alone is not enough. Without prebiotic fiber to nourish those bacteria once they arrive, and without postbiotics, the actual compounds the bacteria produce once they are properly fed, the restoration stays incomplete. Think of a garden. The seeds you plant are your probiotics. The soil that receives them is your prebiotic foundation. The harvest the garden yields and distributes through the body, those are your postbiotics. You cannot have the harvest without all 3 working together. Let me tell you about a patient of mine named Harold, 68 years old, who came to see me from Traverse City, Michigan, where he had spent 31 years running a small boat repair shop. Harold had been waking 3 and sometimes 4 times every night for 2 years. 2 urologists had offered pharmaceutical management. What had been overlooked in every consultation was the state of Harold's mineral absorption. His diet was not dramatically poor, but long-term use of acid-suppressing medication had reduced his stomach's ability to process zinc-containing foods before they even reached his gut wall. He was eating reasonably and still functionally depleted. We began with the soaked pepita protocol, 2 tablespoons each morning, alongside warm lemon water, and we addressed the gut terrain at the same time. After 10 weeks, Harold told me the nighttime waking had reduced from 3 or 4 times to once, sometimes twice. After 14 weeks, his urologist recorded an improvement in urinary flow rate of approximately 28% above his earlier baseline. Harold sat across from me in the wooden chair in my study and shook his head slowly. Master Chen, he said, I have had a bag of these seeds in my garage for 10 years and used them to feed the birds. He laughed. Then he went quiet. Then he thanked me for a long time. Please speak with your physician about any changes to your treatment, particularly if you are taking medications for blood pressure or blood sugar. Two supporting foods work alongside the seeds, my friend. The first is black sesame, Mai in Chinese, which provides additional zinc alongside magnesium, another mineral the prostate tissue requires in meaningful amounts that most older men carry in a state of chronic low supply, a small handful 3 times per week, stirred into morning oatmeal, or taken with warm water and a little honey, covers a mineral gap that pumpkin seeds alone do not fully address. I want to pause here for a moment, because the question I receive most from the men in this community is about the gut foundation we have just been discussing, how to actually rebuild the terrain that determines how much these seeds can give. What I have landed on after all these years, the thing I recommend with confidence to my patients who ask, is BoochBod, a kombucha gummy in berry bliss flavor that brings together prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics in one daily gummy. It contains lactospore and postbiotics LM1004, two clinically studied strains, along with dandelion root, an herb the old mountain healers of Sichuan have relied on for centuries to support kidney function and the deep digestive passages of the lower body. Over 30,000 people are already using it. It is a gummy, not a pill, which matters greatly to many of my older patients who manage multiple capsules already. The link is waiting for you in the description below. And please speak to your doctor before starting any supplement. This belongs alongside your care, not in place of it. Now back to the supporting cast. The second supporting food is fresh ginger. A thumb-sized piece simmered in 2 cups of water for 10 minutes, taken warm before breakfast, activates what TCM calls the digestive fire of the middle jaw. The stomach needs warmth to break down and distribute mineral-rich foods properly. Many patients whose absorption improved most noticeably had first simply addressed the cold, sluggish quality of their digestive function. The gut that receives the seeds should be warm and ready when they arrive. The third supporting practice is sleep consistency. The kidney meridian does its deepest restorative work during the hours between 11 at night and 3 in the morning. If that window is repeatedly disrupted, the organs that depend on zinc cannot fully use what you have provided through the day. Sleep is not passive in this tradition. It is when the mineral work actually happens. After 50 years of watching what actually produces lasting results, here are 4 things the usual guidance will not tell you. The first is that consistency matters more than quantity. 2 tablespoons of properly prepared seeds eaten every single morning for 12 weeks does more than any large and irregular dose. The body responds to steady supply. The second is that high heat compromises. Soaking and gentle warming produces a very different seed than commercial roasting. The higher the temperature, the more zinc enzyme activity is lost before the seed reaches your gut. This single distinction explains why many men who have tried pumpkin seeds in passing did not see meaningful results. The third is to address the stomach first. If you have been on acid-suppressing medication for years, zinc absorption is compromised at the gastric level before the food ever reaches the intestinal wall. Ask your doctor whether this is a factor for you. The fourth is that morning timing is not arbitrary. Zinc absorbed with the morning meal, when gastric acid is at its natural daily peak, enters the body more efficiently than the same mineral taken later in the day. The old morning food traditions were not accidental. 3 mistakes I see most often among men who try this approach and wonder why progress is slow. The first mistake is buying roasted seeds. The packaging looks similar and the convenience is appealing, but the zinc enzyme complexes have already been compromised before the bag reaches your kitchen. Raw and hulled only. The second mistake is skipping the overnight soak. Phytic acid in an unsoaked seed binds to zinc and carries it through without allowing absorption. The soak determines whether the mineral crosses the gut wall or simply passes through. The third mistake is ignoring the gut foundation. The seeds are the food, but the gut is the system that receives it. A depleted gut extracts a fraction of what a restored gut extracts from the same preparation. You cannot address the root while neglecting the soil. My friend, what you are protecting here is worth protecting with care. Picture your own version of this clearly. The morning you take your grandson to the farmer's market, before the rest of the house has woken, walking at his pace, not thinking once about the distance to the nearest restroom. The Sunday dinner, where you stay fully present at the table from the first course through the last, not leaving twice and returning distracted, not managing a body that refuses to cooperate. You are not simply managing a condition. You are restoring what belongs to you. It is never too late to begin this work. I have watched men at 75 and at 80 restore their mineral terrain and recover a quality of daily life they had assumed was permanently behind them. The body remembers what it is supposed to do when the right conditions return. That choice has always been within your reach. Let me lock this in for you. Number 1 covers the problem. Prostate enlargement after 60 is driven in significant part by zinc depletion, which removes the mineral signal that keeps the gland's cells organized and calm. Number 2 covers the hero food, raw hulled pumpkin seeds, prepared by overnight soaking and gentle warming, eaten 2 tablespoons each morning, carry one of the highest concentrations of bioavailable zinc of any plant food available. Number 3 covers the pairing, vitamin C alongside the seeds, warm lemon water or fresh fruit at the same meal, increases zinc absorption through the gut wall. Number 4 covers the supporting cast, black sesame 3 times per week, warm ginger water before breakfast, and consistent sleep through the 11 to 3 window when the kidney does its deepest restorative work. These 4 work together. If what I shared today has opened something for you, subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what comes next. Share this video with a brother or the longtime friend who has been quietly living with this same difficulty and has not yet found a direction that makes sense to him. Leave me a comment below and tell me which piece of today's teaching surprised you most, or which part you are beginning with tomorrow morning. I read every single comment on this channel and I will be there. The BoochBod link is waiting in the description below whenever you are ready. I am Jian Chen. Take care of the root, my friend, and the rest will follow.